Today we're going to be reviewing the production screen in CCC. What is the production screen, right? That's probably a question you guys ask yourself. It's a way to effectively track and manage production within the shop. Why is it important? I think that's another question that comes up. It keeps everyone informed on where the vehicles are in the entire process, right? So everyone's on the same page. It also electronically communicates with our customers, right? Which helps with CSI, especially the kept informed. When the text message update, when the text message selection, like here, is selected, it's sending them electronic messages, communicating with it, helping with CSI. It also lets us know where production conflicts can arise. If 5 things are going into paint and you need to move things around. So everyone has a clear view of it. A lot of the services that we're investing in to make our lives easier and less stressful are dependent on the production screen being accurate. It's going to cut down on phone calls. It's going to cut down on communication. It's all done electronically, but it's all based on this screen, which is why it's one of the most important things we need to kind of solve and keep accurate. The forecasted sales report that a lot of the GM see is also dependent on this process, this screen being correct, right? And that helps to know where we are within the month. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to have to play pretend a little bit, but I'm going to start with pretending that this file, Mr. McTesterson, Testy McTesterson, has just come in and he's just dropped off his vehicle, right? So we're going to create a repair plan. Using the Predict-A-Fix concept that we're all doing, we know what we have to do, right? We have to run through the initial repair process. So when this RO first is created, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into repair plan, and we're going to click here. It's going to say click here to click repair plan. We're going to click this, and we're going to select RPA needed. Every file that comes in before Predict-A-Fix, before we do anything, should be RPA needed. It needs a repair plan, right? So that's what we're doing. Today's 12/12. We're going to say that the vehicle came in this morning. So we're going to click the first button here that says vehicle in, right? We're going to go through and we're going to do our Predict-A-Fix process, which is full disassembly, making sure everything's correct, going through all the sublets, writing an estimate. For the sake of time, I wrote an estimate here. Once we've completed the repair planning process, we're going to now create our repair plan. So in this estimate, now, again, something you're going to have to know, but I wrote this morning, so I kind of have an understanding of what it is. You have a list of all your sublets. You know how long the job's going to be. You're going to be able to determine all those things. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come down here, and where it says click to recalculate here, you're going to click recalculate. Based on the size of the job, and this is just a general help you kind of get the initial timeline, you're going to go through and you're going to figure out, is it an express job? Is it a standard job? Is it a heavy hit? In this case, my estimate had 20 hours, so I'm going to pick heavy hit. I click OK. It gives me a ballpark standard of how long that job should take based on the hours that are in the job, right? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my sublets. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to add my phases. So again, just for the sake of time, I know what I need, so I'm going to run through this. I needed glass out, and I'm going to put a production time in there. I needed a wheel. So I'm going to put time in here. I needed an alignment. I needed a post scan. And the last thing I needed was calibration for the ADAS systems. So now what it did is it threw these all at the bottom, right? So now I need to put these in position where they're going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to glass out, right? So we know glass out has to be done before the body. So I'm going to move glass out to body, to before body. I'm going to put the wheel. I'm going to say we're going to do the wheel because in this job we can do the wheel earlier. I'm going to put it right before we start body. I messed up on glass out. Let's move that up. I know it needs an alignment. I'm going to have that done after reassembly. I know it needs a post scan. I know that that is done before detail. And I know that the calibration needs to be done, and it's to be done after everything's ready and the vehicle's ready to deliver. So now I've kind of mapped it out. Now I go through and I look at my repair plan. So I know that the vehicle came in today. Let's fast forward a little bit and say that it's this afternoon, right? So let's say it's about 3 o'clock. My disassembly is done, and I know my disassembly is done because I've done the repair. I've already been able to make this repair plan. So my estimate is done. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to complete as scheduled. What that does is it locks it in. It lets me know that the disassembly process has been done. And you'll notice up here, it also started the clock on the repair started. So it cuts down a step you guys have to do. Now I'm going to kind of go through, and I've made my phone call for my parts. My parts vendor said, hey, being that it's Thursday afternoon, we're not going to be able to get the parts out there till Monday morning. So I know my parts deliveries, whatever, it's OEM parts. I know that Monday morning by let's just say 10 o'clock, my parts should be here. I called my glass vendor. He said he's going to be here Monday. I know I'll have the wheel, so I'll be able to complete all those, and we'll be pushing it into body Monday morning. When I look at the concept of the repair and I know what's involved in it, I'm able to kind of move this line. And I say, okay, body, I believe that with the hours that are on there, once they get all the parts, body should be done by, let's just say, I have a good tech, he's going to get it done Wednesday night, right? We're able to go, okay, if he can get it done Wednesday night, my priming can be done here. My painter can do it on Thursday. So let's move this and say, if my painter is able to prime it, get it all done, get it refinished, by Friday morning, we're going to be able to be done. Now, what I have here is a sublet, right? It automatically calculated that I should have a sublet. I didn't notice it. So I'm going to come down here because I already have all my sublets in, and I'm going to remove that face, right? Now I know it's going to go into reassembly Friday morning. Let's say it's probably a complicated reassembly. I know I need glass. It's not going to go by Friday, right? It's just, we're not going to be able to push it. We're not going to go. I'm going to say by Monday morning, it's going to be done. We'll be able to send it for the alignment. I know I have the post scan, which isn't going to take long, and my detail, right? It's going to be washed. It's going to be QC'd. My ADAS calibration, let's just say for some reason, just to push it back a little bit, I'm going to go, hey, my reassembly is probably going to take longer than I thought. I probably won't be able to get it in alignment until the 24th, right? Oh no, Christmas is the 24th. I'm going to have to push that out till Thursday, right? So you're making the decision based on the days that are there. Pretty simple stuff. My post scan is going to be done. My detail is going to be done. My QC is going to be done. I'm going to be able to say, hey, calibration, I'm going to drop this car off to you on Thursday, get it back on Friday. My ADAS calibration, my final contact the customer. I believe with this thing, I'm confident that I will be able to deliver this car on Friday. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set my ECD, and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say Friday the 27th, right? That's in line. That's when I believe that my car is going to be delivered. Fairly simple. It gives you a little bit of leeway. We definitely worked in some time for it to be reassembled, some times for it to be done, and I'm confident that my day is going to be started. This is how I would create it for every RO. Now we're going to move on to how to manage the production screen. So I'm gonna shrink this and I'm gonna show you a real life production screen. So I'm gonna try not to mess with it too much. When we're doing this and you're doing your walk around, PredictiFix says you should be walking around 3 times a day and looking at the vehicles, finding out what position they're in, finding out where they are. you're looking at the cars and finding out that stuff, right? So when you come back and you sit down at your screen at your desk and you go to manage your screen, you're looking for certain things, right? One of the first things I'm going to do now, the way I do this is I do it by current phase. And I do it with the arrow pointing up because the things that are waiting for the earlier in the process are going to be to the top, later in the process are going to be to the bottom. Now, funny thing about this, I looked at this a couple days ago when I decided what shop I was going to do, and I had some good examples of ones with no repair plan. We're going to talk about that first. No repair plan means that you guys have made an RO and there's nothing there for it, right? One of the reasons we want to make sure we do that is most people organize their production screen when they print it out, their production sheet, they organize it and they exclude no repair plans. Makes it super easy to miss a job. Everything that has an RO needs to have some form of a repair plan. If you schedule it out, you can see here they've kind of put some different things in here. I don't know when that was scheduled, but the Predictifix, everything that needs a repair plan that hasn't gone through the process should say RPA needed. So all of these scheduled jobs here should have RPA needed. When you first sit down, the first thing you want to do is you want to look for one of those tabs that says here in blue, it'll say no repair plan. If it's your job, you want to create a repair plan for it. If it's not your job, you want to notify the GM so the GM can come in and say, okay, whoever's job that is needs to put a repair plan. That's the first step. The second step is looking for anything that's scheduled and has a blue arrow pointing to the left like this. What that means is that something is scheduled and the day has passed that job was supposed to come in. So we need to go through and we need to make a decision on if we have to move that job up, or we call the customer and say, hey, you're still coming in. We've ordered parts. We've got everything ready. We're ready for you to come in. So that's the second thing you want to look when you sit down. The next thing you want to do is you want to scroll all the way back up and you want to look at your specific jobs. When I'm looking at this, some things here to kind of keep track of, right? This arrow here means that nothing has been set. There's no date set for the customer for the expectation of the customer. Now you'll see that in the parts, you'll see that in waiting, you'll see that in disassembly. But once you get a little further, there should be no question marks like it is here. You can see that the dates are set, right? So this full circle here means that target date has been set. If I back this up a little bit, and I'm not going to mess too much with their screen, you can see that this would be the expected date. This is the date that's set with the customer. You can see as you grab this and you go over, you get an alert. That alert means that according to body shop math, which is what I call these lines, that job is scheduled to be completed after the customer's percepted date is here. So we have some decisions to make. Do we move some jobs to kind of go a little earlier? Do we move stuff around, or do we make the decision to take this bar and move this out here, which changes the customer's perception? Now, once I let go of the mouse, you can see I still have it. Once I let go of the mouse, that sets the date. What that does is it doesn't do it right away, but within a few minutes, it sends the customer an update that says, hey, just letting you know that the expected date for your job to be complete has moved now to Friday the 20th. Not something we want to do on a regular basis, but if we have to, it's something we can do. Now I put it back here. One of the things that when we are going through this, you can see, and let's see which one I can kind of play with a little bit here. So let's pick this one. We'll just pick Waterford here. Now I have a couple options here. When I right click on it to turn it green, to complete it, I can either complete as scheduled or I can complete now. What's the difference? Complete as scheduled is going to complete it right where that line is. Complete now is going to complete it exactly right now. So it's going to move whatever the line is to go to right now, to real time, right? So the day and the time that it's done. And what that does sometimes is it moves, and we can kind of show here, right? So if I clicked body, and let's just say I went here and I clicked body, and I'll fix this, don't worry. Let's say I complete this as complete right now. you can see it moves the entire line over. For whatever reason, this bodyman was killing it. He knocked it out and he got this done super early. This kind of what you can see is it kind of moved everything else, right? It moved the body shop math to say, hey, we're going to be done 3 days earlier. What you don't want to do on this one is go and say, okay, well, it's done, so I'm going to move this all the way back, right? That's the thing that I think is going to be different that we typically do. If we think we're going to get it done, we feel like we have to call the customer, we have to reschedule everything. I wouldn't do that. There's still a lot that can go wrong, right? We set the expectation with the customer to have their car done on 12/18. We want to keep that at 12/18. There's a lot of things that can happen. Maybe because this one got done, maybe one of these other ones ended up getting moved and it actually increased their timetable, and there may be a production decision to move one in front of the other. It gives you a little leeway to play with it, but that's up to the GMs on how they're going to manage their production. But you can see how it does it. Now, if I click incomplete, it puts it back, and I would readjust this to put the timeline back. You'll notice that some of your math is, some of the lines here are red, right? Red means that it's overdue, and you can see status overdue. What that means is it was supposed to be out of body by this morning, but for some reason it's not out of body. That's a decision you guys would have to have a conversation about. Is it something that, you know, is going to be another day and it's going to move you back a day and it's going to change your date? Or is it something where they're going to end up finishing it, we didn't click it, whatever the case may be. Some decisions are made by the GM when you do this. Again, when it goes here, I don't want you to automatically go in and move this to change the date to eliminate that. That's a conversation you have with the GM or whoever's managing production and say, hey, because this got out of paint at, you know, on Friday and it was supposed to be done on Thursday, it moved it back. What do you want to do? Is there something we can move? Is there a production, you know, we can change what's going into paint. We can put more resources to the line, whatever the case may be. Once you make that decision together with your GM, you may have to change that production date. Let me put everything kind of back to where it was. So now you've gone through, you've checked all your jobs that are in your name. You've gone through, you've appropriated the board, you've had the communication with the GMs and made decisions. This should be done 3 times a day. You guys are walking around the shop according to PredictaFix 3 times a day. That's the requirement of PredictaFix. That needs to be done. As the repair advisors who are managing this, you're managing your jobs, your ROs, and you're going through and making this production screen. Now, what the GM or production manager can do is go through and look at this screen and determine what needs to be moved, what needs to be adjusted, where they need to put additional resources, or whether or not they need to call the customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, you know, we're going to be a little late on your job, right? So again, super important that this is updated, super important that the dates are correct. Our technology and the things we have coming are not going to function properly if this screen is not updated. And that concludes the production screen management training.